And on our special coverage on the budget, we are getting you every voice, every aspect and every angle. The next person I'm speaking to is a veteran of budgets in as many as he has presented himself, former Finance Minister and Senior Congress leader P. Chidambaram. So my question is in reference to what you said in your press conference earlier today, where you said this government does not focus on the poor, on joblessness, on inflation issues. I want to ask you a very simple question, sir. As a veteran finance minister who has presented so many budgets, can the budget actually tackle issues like inflation and joblessness in any real way?
Budget can at least indicate what the government will do. See, budget strictly according to the Constitution is only a statement of income and expenditure. But that was abandoned many, many years ago. The budget today has become the principal instrument, the principal vehicle for government to convey to the people of India what its policies are, what will the policies do for them in the forthcoming year. So this budget speech, not the budget numbers, the budget speech should have spelled out what steps the government will take to contain inflation, to increase jobs, to generate jobs. Then nothing at all. In fact, the word unemployment is not mentioned anywhere in the budget speech. The word poverty is not mentioned.
In terms of fiscal consolidation and the macro numbers, are you pleased with the fact that 6.4% has been hit and the path to fiscal consolidation is on track, 5.9% as was widely expected? On the macro front, what is the picture you get of the economy post the budget, Mr. Chidambaram?
Please remember that the target fiscal deficit, according to the FRBM, is 3%. We are now at 6.4, more than twice the target. And next year, the FM promise, it will come down to 5.9. And she will come to 4.5 in 25-26. Now, what kind of glide path is this? When will we reach 3%? We are far, far away from 3%. I commend her for sticking to the budget fiscal deficit of 6.4, but the fiscal consolidation is not fast enough.
Let me come to the big headline coming out of the budget, the big relief to the middle class, the income taxpayer, and the sweetening of the new tax regime. Is that a game changer in your view? And is it the right outlook to want to reduce and cut out exemptions, which the now old tax regime has been having through all of these decades?
What are exemptions? Please understand what exemptions are. Exemptions are intended to create a tax way, a tax path to provide some money for social security. Suppose somebody builds a house, and if there is an exemption for interest paid on the loan taken for the house, that's not an exemption. That is helping him build a social security net, namely the house. Similarly, Provident Fund. If you get an exemption for investing in Provident Fund, in one sense it's an exemption. In another sense, it is an encouragement to him or her to build a social security nest for the old age. Therefore, don't look at exemptions as some giveaway. Exemptions are really the path to help individual build a social security nest. Why is it necessary? It's necessary because the state provides no social security to most people of this country. Zero social security. Therefore, exemptions have to be viewed from the point of view of helping individuals to build a social security nest. If you want to do away with exemptions, by all means do it, but do it straight away. Say that all exemptions will come to an end by such and such a year. But in the meanwhile, ensure that somebody gets a social security for old age, for social security, for health, a social security for housing. Make sure that social security is available to the individual and do away with all exemptions.
May I just present the counter to that which often comes when there are experts who push for removal of exemptions? They say that is the ordinary Indian and the tax-paying Indian not smart enough or prudent enough to figure out where they want to invest their money? Why should it be in XYZ insurance policy under Section ATC or CCD? Let them do what they want with their money. If they want to invest in a home, fine. If they don't, that's fine too. What would you say to that, sir?
See, today individuals are exercising their choice. Most Indians, if they have money, will put it in their PPF, will put it in some savings scheme. If they have little more money, they'll buy an apartment or build a house in a village. So it's not as though individuals are not exercising their choice. Individuals are exercising their choice. That choice is being dubbed as an exemption. It is, in a sense, exemption. But in a larger sense, it is building a social security nest for the individual. I'm surprised that you're not able to see it from that point of view. If I don't build a social security nest for me in my old age, or when I fall ill, or when my child has to go for higher education, then the state has to provide for it. Let the state say all higher education will be free. Let state say all health expenditure will be taken over by the state government. Let the state say if you are old and you don't have a place to live, we will provide you with subsidized housing. Let the state say that. Without doing that, if you take away the exemptions, then how does one build a social security nest for oneself? All that money will be taxed.
By extension of what you've just said, do you see the new taxation system as a boon for especially younger taxpayers who are coming into the labor force, or a problem going ahead? And do you expect more people to switch to the new tax regime? Because in its first iteration, it wasn't quite a hit.
See, I have spoken to a few chartered accountants. One of them has even sent me an Excel sheet. I have to study it. What they tell me is it is beneficial to a taxpayer in certain slabs and who has some kind of savings. Not all. He takes advantage of some kind of exemptions, and if that is taken away and he is asked to move to a no exemption regime, it may be beneficial to him. But the same chartered accountant tells me that in other slabs, it is not beneficial. In fact, that will require a detailed study. I have been given 4 columns of numbers at 5 lakh, at 10 lakh, at 15 lakh, at 25 lakh. I don't think it's beneficial to all taxpayers, irrespective of the slab and irrespective of which exemption they are availing of. See, not all avail of all exemptions. Please understand that. It's not an all exemption regime or a no exemption regime. There are taxpayers who will take advantage of some exemptions and not take advantage of other exemptions. That choice is available to the taxpayer. My real worry is you made it a default option. Most taxpayers don't have high quality professional advice. So they just speak to somebody or on their own decide that I will go to the exemption regime or the no exemption regime. How can you make it a default option? Which means this government has failed to motivate people to move to the new tax regime, and they are falling upon the default option. I think the default option is grossly unfair, and it will hurt the ordinary taxpayer who does not have high quality professional advice.
come to another big announcement in this budget, which is the capital expenditure, which the finance minister said has been increased by 33%. How do you look at that number? Because it's being loaded for, the right decision at a time when the economy needs to build resilience.
I have given the numbers in my statement. The current year, 22-23, the budgeted capital expenditure was 7,50,246 crore. What will they spend by the end of the year? Only 7,28,374 crore. They are not able to spend even the budgeted capital expenditure. If you take even effective capital expenditure, which includes grants for capital assets, that includes Manrega, the budgeted amount is 10,67,889, but they will actually spend only 10,53,862. So what you budget and what you actually spend on capital expenditure are different. In fact, what you are spending less than what is budgeted. So simply because in the budget estimates for next year, she has shown a large number like 10 lakh crore, that doesn't mean they will spend it. You ask them what is their marksmanship. If they're able to spend for capital expenditure, budgeted capital expenditure, that's good. But if they are not able to spend, what is the use of this number?
Mr. Chidambaram, I want to know your view of the economy, because right now the IMF, a number of global agencies and the government, of course, says that India is the bright star, shining spot compared to the rest of the world. Developed economies will be going into a global recession, and it's because of our domestic consumption, resilience, etc., etc. How do you look at India and India's economy right now, and how we will fare through what could be a very tough year?
I thought this government is opposed to global rankings. Why? What are we comparing ourselves with, say, United States or Canada or Norway or Sweden? Look at their per capita income and our per capita income. So the real measure is the per capita income of each country. What is the point of gloating over a 6 or 7% growth when your per capita income is 1/20th of the advanced economy's per capita income? And if you are looking at ranking, look at India's ranking in the Global Hunger Index. Look at India's ranking in the IMR, infant mortality rate, maternal mortality rate. Look at India's ranking in the Freedom Index. Therefore, don't throw me this argument that we are the largest, fastest growing economy in the world. China's economy is 5 to 6 times larger than India's economy. America's is much larger. So if they grow at 2% or 3% and you grow at 7%, they will add to their GDP several times more than your GDP. So these comparisons are irrelevant. The real measure is what is our trend growth rate. We need to grow above 7% and closer to 8%. And I'm afraid what this government is doing does not indicate that we will grow at 7% to 8%. In fact, on the FM's projections for the 10 years of the Modi government, the average is only 5.61. Do the calculation. I've done the calculation. It is only 5.61.
Mr. Chidambaram, I have to ask you, in the current scenario, post-pandemic, could India, under any government, actually grow at 8% this year?
I'm not saying we can grow in 1 year at 8%. You have to manage the economy in such that you are on an ascending path. Look at this year. First quarter was 13.5. You agree? That is the NSO numbers. Second quarter was 6.3. Now what will the third quarter and fourth quarter be if the whole year it will be 7%. A simple arithmetic. For the 2 quarters together, it can only be 8.2%. So you would divide it in whichever way you want. The next 2 quarters, Q3 and Q4, cannot be much more than 4% each. Therefore, for the whole year, quarter to quarter, we are on a declining curve. 13.5 to 6.3 to 4.2 to 4.0. That's not the kind of economic growth path that I want. We should be in an ascending path. Quarter to quarter, we should grow our rate. Are we growing our rate?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Chidambaram, for speaking with us today on Mirror Now as we get every aspect and voice on the union budget and the Indian economy. Thank you once again.